So with all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reissues from Playmates Toys, they went and did it. They brought back one of the greatest playsets of all time. Of course I've got to check out the new Technodrome. Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan. Today we are going to be checking out the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Technodrome reissue, which is an Amazon exclusive. Yes, we love those, don't we? They're just so easy to buy, and Amazon packages things so well. It's so collector friendly. Anyway, here it is. This is it. This is the new Technodrome. We're going to open it up. We're going to take a look at it. And most importantly, we're going to compare this to the original Technodrome, which is one of my all-time favorite playsets. And I've heard that there are some differences with this new version compared to the old one. So we're really going to measure them up. We're going to see how the new one stacks up to the old one. It's going to be fun, right? First things first, hey, are you subscribed to this channel yet? Well, if you enjoy what you see here today, please consider hitting that subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on any of my reviews or my toy news videos, and it really helps the channel continue to grow. Now, with all that being said, this is the new Technodrome. This is the box for the new Technodrome, and it is very similar to the vintage Technodrome box, but it is slightly different. Now, the artwork on there does appear to be the same artwork from the original release, which is awesome. Fantastic artwork. I love the vintage TMNT box art there. But it is in a slightly different position on the box when comparing to the original. And the biggest thing that I noticed is this image on the front. It's different. It's actually a brand new image of this new version of the Technodrome, which is a good thing. It's actually showing the real product that's inside this box. One of the things that really stands out on the original packaging, there was a kid in the picture with the Technodrome playset. This time, no kid, because they know who's buying this. They know who's buying this. I'm 42. Also, on that image there, you can see it's got a bunch of their current reissues in the actual Technodrome itself. When you flip it over to the backside, we got a brand new image of this new Technodrome playset, all the callouts for all the action features. Really fun stuff. I mean, this is it's really cool to see this box. I mean, even though obviously it's got to be different from the original slightly, but that box art's great. People that like collecting boxes, I mean, this is a fun one. I think you guys are going to like it. But we got to open this bad boy up. So let me cut the tape here. We're going to see what's inside the box and put this bad boy together, huh? We got that box in a box going on there. Scissors are definitely a requirement, I think, for opening a lot of this up. Have a good pair handy. All right, this already feels small, and I'm already aware that this is going to be smaller than the vintage one, and this already feels it right out of the box. We're going to do those comparisons, don't worry. The base is totally like zip tied into this box. Get those scissors ready. Aha! So many bags of parts to put this whole thing together here. But the sheet of instructions are in here with the stickers. Oh no, there's 3 sheets of stickers for this Technodrome. It's like, of course there's stickers. I remember all of these stickers, but there's a good chance my parents put all these stickers on mine for my childhood. There's that eyeball. Oh, it feels different. It's smaller and it's very lightweight. It feels a lot different. But this is a piece that's often missing off of the original Technodrome when you find it out in the wild. I'm curious if this is going to fit on the old one. It's definitely something I want to try. Oh, there's so many parts. So I can already tell too, like with a lot of these pieces, just how different these are than the vintage Technodrome. Like, you guys are going to probably know what I'm saying, what I mean when I say this, but they have that very lightweight, modern plastic feel from toys. You know, like a lot of the modern vehicles and a lot of toy lines have this very, look at this, very like flexible, light, almost hollow feeling plastic. That's what all of these feel like. And like you can almost see through them. It's very different from the original. All right, I have a feeling it's going to be smart to put the stickers on before all of the assembly with this. So that is what I'm going to do. But the instructions are very step by step, so I think this will be easy to assemble.
The Turtles are assaulting the Technodrome! Inside are the Foot Clan's weapon storage chamber, Krang's laboratory, and Shredder's master control room! Huh?
So there it is, our brand new Technodrome. And honestly, building this, not so bad. Everything seems to pop in place exactly how you would expect it to. Really, the stickers are the annoying part of the process. And I will say to be careful with those stickers too, because they seem to be really thin and they tear easy when you're pulling them off of the backer. So just be careful when you're assembling them because they're also very sticky. So you want to get as close as you can before pressing down, because once it sticks to that plastic, you're going to rip it trying to tear it off and reposition it. So stickers, a bit of a pain, but otherwise assembly on this is pretty good. And the final product here is going to stand about 14 inches tall, and I'm going from the bottom to the top of the eyeball, and we're about 9 inches in length on the base down here. So overall, yes, this is smaller than the vintage Technodrome playset. We're going to get to comparisons on that in just a bit. Overall, it looks great. I mean, you look at this and it looks like the Technodrome. It's definitely going to be a nice display piece. And I'm going to go over it. I'm going to show you all the features with this. There are some minor differences I've noticed with the overall kind of sculpt of this thing, which is really interesting because since this is shrunken down, it almost looks like they didn't just take the original and shrink it down. It almost looks like they redid parts of this, maybe completely remolded it. And they probably didn't still have the original molds anyway. But I noticed some little differences on here. Some of them are kind of like quality of life improvements. Like, for example, on the back here where it opens, they added these little gripping tabs so that it's easy to actually grip and pull this open. I thought that was pretty cool. But there are some other things that I'm definitely going to complain about while we're talking about this. And one of those things you just saw happen. Did you see how that eyeball just rolled right off the top of this thing? This eyeball doesn't actually stick on there. It is just like very loosely sitting on the top. The hole on the bottom of the eyeball is just a hair bigger than the actual peg here. If you had the vintage one, you probably remember that that thing actually like set on there and locked in place. And it didn't fall off until you activated the feature where you pulled the steering wheel down on the inside, which lowered this peg right here to make it roll off. This just lightly sits on here. So if I pick up the Technodrome, the eyeball is going to go rolling away, and now it's on the other side of the studio, so I'm going to have to go get it before we move forward. Shout out to my lovely wife, Stina, who just handed this to me from off camera. But this is the kind of thing that bugs me throughout, because it's a lot of weird little things like that. Because I'll tell you, like, overall, just right out the gate, this is a fine toy. This is a decent reissue of the Technodrome. And if you've never had the Technodrome before, maybe little things like that aren't even going to bother you. But I notice a lot of things like right away. Like I already mentioned when I was piecing it together or pulling it out of the box that it felt a lot more lightweight. And I still feel that way when it's assembled. The overall thing is a lot lighter than the original. Now, the base down here is a harder plastic and it does have some weight to it. But the shell here is that softer, more pliable plastic. I mean, you can kind of see how it bends and flexes, and that is just sort of one of those like modern day toy things that we seem to deal with. The plastics today are a bit softer and more pliable on a lot of these larger toys like this, and I don't know if it's like because the types of plastic have changed that are used over the years, but the original one is a hard shell. It's hard, it's hefty, it's strong. This one is a bit softer. It doesn't feel fragile, but it's a bit softer, and that softness does kind of add to some of the complications, which is, I think, is part of the problem with this eyeball that keeps falling off of the top here. That drives me crazy. Now, with that eyeball, you do still have the feature of being able to pull down the fun little ramp in the front, and then you've got the little steering wheel on the inside here. See this little steering wheel on the inside? You can use that to control the eyeball. You can turn it. It's really cool. And then when you pull it down, it lowers that little peg on the top, and the eyeball is supposed to come rolling off and then bouncing onto your turtles who are approaching the Technodrome. It still works decent. I mean, it works. Sometimes it just gets stuck here. I mean, that's kind of crazy that that keeps happening. But I did get it to work, which you'll see the footage of course. So it works very similar to the original. The eyeball here is also a lot lighter in weight compared to the vintage one, and that's probably part of the reason why it's not rolling so good. That's why it's like just kind of like landing in the basket and staying there, like I'm scoring 2 points with my Technodrome. There's a lot of other interesting differences here, and you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it, because I know this is what you guys are here for. My friends, it's comparison time! This is my very discolored vintage Technodrome. Unfortunately, that's a thing that happens with the old one. This gray plastic turns very yellowish. But setting these side by side, I think this really shows you the size difference. In fact, I want to kind of like, oh, good grief. If I can keep the eyeball on, what I want to do is kind of lift them up here just so you can see what these look like side by side. And I want to do just these comparisons around here because, like I said, it really does feel almost like it's kind of a different mold entirely. Like, one of the things I noticed is that the turret guns on the side are placed higher up on the new one compared to the old one. They're a little bit further down. The base seems to be shaped a little different, specifically in the front. Also, it's a different color. On the vintage Technodrome, it's gray on the front. The new one is just the same blue as the rest of the base, so it's all one solid piece this time. It's also a little flatter in, so it's like they flattened it because it doesn't extend as far. So some of the shapes on here just look slightly different, which really leads me to believe that this is like a totally new mold. Now, some of it does look similar, so I'm sure that there was like a mixture of like probably remolding the original toy, shrinking it down, and then of course they did some engineering to change things and make it work. So I was really kind of surprised by just how different it looks and it feels, but still, I mean, it's a Technodrome. I talked about that eye when I was unboxing it. First of all, look at this. Look at this. Does that eye fall off? No. Look at this. It's on there much harder. So I wanted to see if you can mix and match these because I talked about how the eye on the original one is missing a lot of times. So the new one does not fit on the vintage one. It's a different peg entirely, which makes sense. You know, I mean, it barely fits on the new one, but it definitely doesn't fit on the old one. And that eye is like huge on the old one. So I don't know. That's just one of those things I wanted to try. A little bit of mixing and matching. All right, I'm going to move vintage Technodrome out of the way for the moment because we're going to talk more about some of the features of the new one here. So it does have wheels just like the old one, so it rolls around. That actually works very nicely. It's nice and smooth. And as I showed you guys, you do have those little kind of finger handles right there, which will help you open up your Technodrome to pull the entire thing open. And a lot of this is constructed the same way as the vintage one. They even recreated the stickers, which I think is very cool. So the artwork does appear to be the same, albeit the stickers are definitely shrunk down to fit in the new size of this playset here. You've got the little feet over here that will fold down. That's going to help keep those doors open. And then you've got a few little extra touches to add here as well. For instance, you've got the little spinny device, the brain scrambler. So that right here will plug onto this piece on the front there. You got the little notch for it. This is slightly different as well. I've noticed that there's a little turn arrow molded on there to let you know which way to turn it. And we've got a new plastic seat belt on there, which again, this is one of those things I consider like a quality of life improvement. So there are some things that they did on here that make sense. I think that's really cool. One of the downsides of this is that because the area is so small and compact, it's actually going to make it a little more difficult to use. Now, even on the vintage one, the feet would still kind of bang into the cages and stuff sometimes, but I found it extra tricky to use this time around. Basically, you can just lay a turtle on there. You can rotate it the direction of that arrow. You let it go, and then it spins the turtle. But just be warned, you're going to have to position them exactly right, or they're just going to be banging their feet and their head into the cage back there, and then the entire thing's just not going to work. You've got the little seat up here at the top so that you can sit Shredder to stare at the sticker, which looks like a screen looking at a turtle climbing up the side of the Technodrome. Again, they shrunk the entire space of this thing, and the figures themselves are still the exact same size. This is a vintage Shredder that I stuck in here, by the way. So you could see that, you know, it always felt a little tight on the inside, but it is definitely extra tight now. So there's a lot less room to work with in here. That's especially noticeable at the place underneath. This is the little bed that has this little pull-out piece right here, which is supposed to be for ooze. It's just a little hole. It's nothing that fancy, but the original concept here is that you would take a little bit of ooze, you would stick it on there, it would slowly drip onto the unsuspecting turtle that has been strapped to the bed. But because this space is so small, the turtle just completely gets stuffed into this area, and that little thing is just like, it is laying on top of the turtle. It is touching him. So there will be no dripping of slime. And again, I just want to point out the vintage one didn't have that much room. It was still pretty tight and compact, but that is definitely worse. I mean, it's really just not going to work good on there. Also, I don't have any good ooze right now. Otherwise, I would have tested it. My kids used all the ooze up. What were they thinking, playing with toys? So you do have this great little extra ledge, which is just like the vintage one. It is designed a little bit different as well. I noticed that it's got full like peg holes this time around, as well as little kind of ledges so that it sets on here. Very nice. It actually works. So you could put this on either side. It can position over on the left or the right of the Technodrome. It's fighting with me. There we go. So you can clip that in place. You've got the little chains that you can hang a turtle off of if you want to. And of course, this is just like a place where the bad guys can stand. I will say it's kind of annoying that the clamps are facing that direction because they don't really match the wrists very good. They almost should be turned the other way. Yeah, because our turtles are like basically hanging sideways off this thing. I don't think that's any different than the old one, so that can't count as me picking on the new one, okay? All right, but here's an area where I am going to pick on the new one. So this is Krang's section up here on the top. I'm going to move this piece right here. This is Krang's section, and one of the features I always thought was really cool about this on the original one is if you've got Krang's walker here, the arms can come off that walker, and you can actually attach them to the pegs on the side of this little post right here. And then Krang sits on top of that so that his robot arms are on that. Now, I am using a vintage Krang. This is not the reissue one. And so I don't know if the reissue one has different sized peg holes, but what I found is that the arms of the vintage Krang don't fit on this new one. Far too loose. They just kind of fall off. I guess that would make sense since they shrunk this thing down. And also, Krang's body, like, he just falls completely down over the peg, and that's not how the vintage one was. He kind of plugged onto it, and, you know, so that it still had room for the arms on there. So, vintage Krang, you can put him on there. He doesn't fit on there as good as he should. You can see he's very loose fitting as well. So, again, I don't know. Maybe the reissue Krang that is out now has different size peg holes, and so it actually fits on that a little bit better. But consider that another thing that doesn't work as well as it should if we're using our vintage toys. All right, so below that, we've got the fun little ammunitions station. It's just got the little spots where you can put like foot soldier, weapons, guns, stuff like that, just like the vintage. I also always loved the little cage on the underside that you can open up. You can trap your turtles in there. I also used to love putting like Toka and Razar in there, like it was their cage from Secret of the Ooze. So, you know, that's a fun little area. All the stickers are really cool. You do have the opening door on the front. This is scaled down, so it's probably not going to connect, obviously, to your vintage sewer pipes. Makes me wonder if they are planning to reissue the sewer layer and if it also will be shrunk down a little bit. Interesting to think about. And then you've also got the opening door on the front as well. Folds down, folds up. So 2 different ways that the turtles can sneak into the Technodrome and end up right into the prison. That always cracked me up as a kid. That, my friends, is the brand new Technodrome. I brought the old one back up here again just to show the comparisons. I mean, I guess I could have done this for you too. The inside is similar, but here maybe this will help you guys actually see the space on the inside. Finding the table space to open this all up is always fun. So here you go. We got the left side over here compared to the left side over here. Brand new Technodrome. Look, the original Technodrome is just still to this day one of my all-time favorite play sets. I loved this thing when I was a kid. I played with it a ton with my Ninja Turtles figures. I have a lot of great childhood memories with this playset right here, which is part of the reason why it's so high on my list of favorite playsets of all time. I mean, it's a pure nostalgia thing, but it's a really cool toy. I always thought it was a really, really fun design. And the new one here, it's still good. It's still good. I know that it felt like I was nitpicky, and there are some things about it that bug me. I don't know if it's because I've always owned this one, and so knowing the way it should be compared to the new one might be the reason why it bugs me. But I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think, because if you've never had the Technodrome before, this might be just fine for you. And the original one has gotten more and more and more and more expensive over the years. And to be perfectly real with you guys, I know a lot of people are probably happy that there's such a big difference between the two. So it's very easy to tell them apart. Now, Playmates has gone buck wild with reissues of vintage Turtles for quite some time, but I know that, you know, a lot of collectors out there want to make sure it's distinguishable between new ones and old ones so that new ones don't get passed off as old ones. And you're definitely not going to be able to pass off this Technodrome as one of the originals. And I mean, even some of these harder to find parts, they're not really going to swap between the two playsets because it's so scaled down. Price on this new one is $80. Does feel a little bit high, but man, all toys do today. So it's an Amazon exclusive. It is available for pre-order again right now. It's kind of done that thing where like it goes on pre-order, then they ship, then it goes on pre-order again, then they ship. It's done it a few times already. So just go on there and you should be able to pre-order it right now at the time that I'm putting this video out there. If it's anything like any of the other Turtles reissues, I'm assuming it's really probably not going to be that hard to get because everything else has been pretty readily available. So there you go, my friends. Brand new Technodrome in 2024. Definitely let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I want to hear them. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video. And until next time, my friends.